All right, guys, here's a best attempt, quick run through on the new desk that we've got here. Pretty simple. Start her up, power at the back here, almost in the exact same spot as the last desk. We're still running everything out of here. There's no fancy digital cables or anything like that running. It's pretty simple. So once you've started it up there, come around, you'll see it lights up. All the screens go nice and yummy. And so now you can see this is how it will be when you first start it up each time. So we can see here there's kind of two main sections to the board as far as faders go. So we've got our faders 1 through 16 over here, and this is set up pretty simply for our current setup. And so while we've only got 12 lines from the front and one mic for the wireless, they all sit in here, and you can see them. We've got them all kind of labeled here and color coded. So the first 4 channels are vocals, as you can see, vocal 1, 2, 3, 4, and that'll match the first 4 channels on the desk, on the snake at the front. Then we go through to our instruments, and you can see we've got an acoustic 1, acoustic 2, and then electric guitar, bass guitar. So that's our second row of inputs down on the box at the front. Then from there we go to our keys. We've got a left and a right on that third row, and then our kick drum, as you can see there. Got lovely little cymbals that match the instrument, and then we have these 3 are blank because there's nothing inputted into them at the moment, and then we have the wireless here on channel 16. All right, so that's where all our instruments and mic leads are going in on the board. But if you want to get to your auxiliary feeds, so say the Bluetooth, or you've got a PC plugged in or something like that, we go to a different layer over here on this side. So there's different layers within what these faders will be doing. So that's labeled, that's faders channels 1 to 16. If we switch this one, that gives us 17 to 32. Got nothing plugged in there, so 17 to 32, you see nothing written there. That means there's nothing plugged in there, nothing working there. The next layer down is our auxiliaries and our effects. So you can see here we've got auxiliary 1 and 2, and that's the plugs here at the back. That's your cable that's plugged in here at the back. You can put different types of phones into that one. You can even plug in and charge at the same time. And there's a regular headphone jack there if you want to plug a PC into it, or if you want to run something out of the computer over here, just switch to that. That will be your input for that one. All right, so then we've got the second one here. We're gonna have stage input auxiliaries. So I'll show you that when we get down the front. And then we have our Bluetooth here at the back. That's the eSync one. And these are all stereo feeds. So these two, that's left and right, you can see. Desk auxiliary left and right. Stage mix left and right. eSync, Bluetooth left and right. These are all left and right channels, but we have them linked together. So what that means is you only need to move one of the faders and the other one will go with it. As you can see, the one next to it goes up and down with it. Same here, goes up and down with it. And once again, because those are all linked as stereo feeds. All right, so you don't need to touch anything over here with the effects, just leave them as they are. There's no need to play with those at all. They just stay as they are. We'll talk about how to play with those a little bit later. All right, so that's our layers here. Don't need to worry about the bus master down the bottom. That's not going to be anything you're going to need to touch. So the main thing is you're going to be using channels 1 to 16. You'll see the lovely pictures and the numbers there, and then you'll be using auxiliary feeds in over here for your computers and so on. All right, so now if we wanted to EQ or make some changes, like some subtle changes to any of those channels, we go into now this top section here, which is one of the ways, the easiest way to EQ a channel. So let's say we've got number 1 selected here. All right, so now everything here affects channel 1. And you'll see as I come over here a little bit further, you can see now on the screen here, we can see it starting to do stuff as well. So it shows us anything that's selected to view here. So let's say we started with the gain. So you've got your gain up here at the top left. If you want to gain it, you press the view button, and you can see right up on the top of it there's a little light there that shows you where it is there. But you also see it on a feeder over here. If you're gaining it, that's where you'll see the level, so that you can work out where do you want it to be. Get to about there, you're going to start pushing into the yellow and up to the red, so you want to try and keep it down in the green. Most of them will be pretty much set, but if you go above that, it's going to be cranking so loud, you're not going to want it that loud anyway. All right, so that's your gain. This is if you've got a low cut filter in to take out any of the bass, which we do for all of our vocals. And once again, that's done here by either turning it on and off, and you can see it adjusts the EQ, which we can see better when I go into the EQ. You can see it drops out all that bottom end on the analyzer here. You can see down the bottom end here, as it goes on and off, you can see it drop in and out. All right, so that's the gain and the low cut filter. So then we have a gate, which we haven't found we'd needed to use as much as we did previously, so we don't have those on at the moment. This is the compressor, which is mostly used for taking down if the input signal is just getting a bit too hot, and you want to be able to stop it from peaking and overdoing your mix. So if you hit the view button, you'll see it just changed up here on the screen again. This is now your compressor. And so as you play with the dial over here, it'll change things over on, which way are we going? See, you can see that line going up and down on the right over here. That's your compressor. And so that's compressing, that's not compressing. That's compressing the top, that's not compressing. If you feel like that's too sharp, and you want it to be a more gradual compression, so it's not just hitting hard, you can see there's some adjustments here. You probably don't need to worry about those. I would hit the layer down button here, and then you get to see the knee. And the knee will soften or harden that point. See that, how it changes the angle of the line? All right, that softens it, that hardens it. So I generally kind of go about there, but it depends on whether you need to have the compressor for that particular vocal or instrument. All right, so that's we've done the gain, like I said, gate, threshold. This is your compressor. And anything that you want to view as you press, as I said, you view that, changes what's on the screen, press the view for this one, shows it up on the screen. So now we're going to go over to the equalizer, the EQ. So we'll hit view on that. Oh, something I didn't mention. Up here is also your 48 volt if you want phantom feed on those channels, but we've got those all set up, so you probably won't need to worry about that. As long as you leave vocals as vocals and instruments as instruments, you won't have a problem. But here, once again, you've got to turn on each of these sections. So at the moment you can see this light here, that means the EQ is on. If I press that button there, it turns the EQ off. You'll see those bits that were yellow on the spectrum screen. So now they're on, now they're off. It's only the low cut that's showing there now. So pressing it to make it on here, makes it yellow up here, means it's working. And these are the 4 different options that you get within the EQ for what frequencies. So as I press the low one here, you'll see it changes to 1, and then there's a 2, there's a 3, there's a 4. That's your 1, 2, 3, 4. As you go over here, and your controls. So now that we've got, say 2, we're going to play with 2 a little bit. It's switched to there, it's lit up. Now over here, this is your up or down. Pretty simple. You can see the graph changing on the screen there as I did that. The next dial changes the frequency that you're playing with, forwards and backwards. Pretty simple. And the top one changes how wide it is. So you can see it changing on the screen there, depending on how I play with that, is how wide that goes. There's another option over here as well. There's another, you hit this and it changes modes between skinny and fat, and you'll see it changes on the screen as to how wide it goes again. All right, so that's each of those different ones will control a different point depending on where you've chosen it. So like if we went to the top one here, the high, you'll see now it's gone to number 4, and we'd be adjusting number 4, either boosting, cutting, changing its position on the frequencies, or the width of how wide it goes. All right, so that's pretty simple. You can do shelves as well. So you might, for example, you might want to have let's go down to the low one. This one's got a cut on it, but we could switch that to a shelf, and you can see how that changes things on the screen. All right, depending on what you've got selected there. So we'll go back to cut because that's where it was. But these mode options, you can play with those a little bit. But once again, we'll hopefully have most things set up pretty clean, so you won't need to do a whole lot. You probably don't need to worry about this. This is just groups and sends down to like your monitors and so on, but you don't need to do anything there. I wouldn't worry about this. This section here is simply your pan, left or right, but you've got to have it turned on for stereo left or right. If that's off, it won't be panning. Got to be on, and then you can pan it with the dial. So that's pretty straightforward once again. You won't need this one. That's for a mono channel that goes out. Sometimes you can set it up to have your subwoofers on a different feed from your mains, but we haven't got it set up there, so that won't do anything anyway. So don't worry about that one. All right, so this is how you EQ and set up each of your channels over on this side over here. Like I said, you just select them as you go through, and it changes as you go. Obviously, there's mutes, pretty simple, down the bottom here. We don't play too much with solos. We haven't found a need to do that with our setups. So yeah, 1 to 16, that's the main thing you're going to be playing with your levels there. And then, let's go over to the other side here. So over here is the other section of the board. So you've got a different set of faders. You can see they've got other layers as well. So currently they're on groups. See, that says groups. So we've grouped different feeds. So you can see we've grouped all the vocals into this one here. So if all the vocals you want to kill them or just bring them down a bit, you can mute, or you can control it this way. It's the same with your instruments and all your monitors. This is a master controller for your monitors. Once again, you can either mute them or bring them down on the fader. Effects, the same. All effects, you can bring them down or mute them. We don't have anything allocated for 6 and 7 at the moment. We may change that later, but at the moment we don't. But we've also grouped all the auxiliary inputs, so you can mute or control them there with that master also. And of course, over here on the right is our master fader for your feed out to the front. Okay, so that's that layer, that current layer. The next layer is our bus feeds out, which is monitors. So this is going out. You can see bus feed 1 is monitor 1, 2, 3, 4. We don't have anything plugged into the other ones, so it's just 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll see that lines up with the 4 monitor feeds down from the stage box. So that's your foldback speakers. Now, if you want to control, that's your master for each one of those. This is your fader here for each of the monitors. And then if you want to be able to work out or control how much of each feed goes into that, there's a button up the top here that says Sends on Fader. So when you press that button, I'll zoom back out a little bit. When you press that button, it tells you when those two are pressed like that, it tells me what feeds, how much feeds are in that number 1 monitor. So you'll notice over here it changed and it told me now there's this much from channel 1, 2, 3. This is how we had it this morning. And 5, so we got the 3 vocals we had this morning. And here's the guitar, how much we had there in the number 1 monitor and how much keys we had in number 1 monitor. If I switch now to number 2, monitor 2, you can see it's a different mix that we had, and you just control it with these slides to increase or cut your feed to that monitor. Toggling through, changes depending on how you want to set that up. Okay. All right, so this button tells you that what's happening over here is a reflection of what you've chosen over here. The moment you turn that off, it goes back to what it was before. So it's back to now master feeds. Turn it on, goes back to what's happening here. Turn it off, back to master feeds. What else do you need to know here? All right, so if you want to adjust what's on your different effects, that's down here on bus 9 to 16. So you go down to 9 to 16, you can see over here now the 4 effects that we have set up currently. You can choose how much of each channel you want to go into that. Now I'll show you the 4 that we have. You see up here on the panel, it says effects. Shows me we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 effects. We've got a vintage room on the first one, and then a hall reverb, stereo delay, and then a stereo chorus. Okay, so that matches up with these 4 here. So these 4 line up to those 4 different effects that you can choose. And as with how we set up the monitor feeds for each channel, how much we wanted, it's the same when it comes to effects. So if we have a look at our sends here and we go to our bus feed for effect number 1, select that, you can see over here, this morning we had this much of the vocals into that effect 1. When we switch to effect 2, you can see how much we had set there for effects 2. I don't think we had anything in 3 this morning, but we did have the acoustic going through a stereo chorus effect there as well. All right, so that's how you adjust how much of each channel you get when it comes to your effects over here. Okay, so that's probably most of what you're going to need to know here. Just keep an eye on this one here. Make sure when you're finished adjusting your effects or your monitor feeds, make sure you turn that off so you're going back to what is your master feeds over here. One thing I didn't kind of make clear there was that, let's say we're looking at how much is going into monitor 1, for example. Let's say we want to see how much is going to monitor 1 from your auxiliary inputs. So you select that again. This is showing me how much is going in from your 1 to 16. That's how much is going in from your 17 to 32s. That's how much is going in from your auxiliaries. So if you want your auxiliaries to be going through the monitor feeds at the front of the stage, you need to bring them up here. All right, so then when I go back to switching that off, and we're back to our master. Simple, this is how it's going to be most of the time you're going to use it. Channels 1 to 16, these are your main faders, and then over here, mostly you're just going to have your groups because it's the easiest way to control it. What else do we need to chat about? Over here, you won't be using this. There's nothing plugged into our monitor feeds at the moment. So that would be if you were in a studio room and you had inside a glassed off section, you would have your master go to here as well, but you would control it. It's a different set of plugs on the back. This is for talkback. If you want to speak to the monitors at the front, we don't have anything plugged in there, but there is a small microphone here if you desperately need to do that. So you press the talk button and it'll give you talking into there, which should go to all of your monitor feeds at the front. What else do we need to know? This section over here, this is assigning. This is for if you want to have something, we haven't set it up yet, we haven't played with it because we haven't needed to, but these are all assignable. You can make them do different things, but we haven't played with that yet. So don't worry about your assign, it's not important. Mute groups, the only thing we set up as a mute group was number 1, was for your wireless in case you couldn't work out how to mute your wireless. But that's all we did there. We didn't do any other mute groups here yet. But once again, if you're over here, you can mute them. As you see, here's the wireless, vocals, instruments, monitors. You can mute them all through here. Now, what else? All right, with the screen up here, as I said before, you're probably not going to use it a whole lot. Home screen is probably where I would leave it most of the time. And then depending on which view button you press will be what you see up there. Keeps changing now I'm over to the EQ and so on. So depending on what you've chosen and which channel will change what's on the screen up there. That's where I would probably leave it most of the time, is just leaving it on home, and that way whenever you're selecting something, it's going to change up the top automatically for you. Top left over here next to the screen is a USB stick that's in there. Please don't take that one out. That's there for the memory of the settings that we have, the scenes that we've got in, but also you can record to it, but we haven't set that up yet. All right, so don't worry about that at the moment. We haven't played with that as yet. Back to the screen, like I said, home is there. You won't need to go into any of the configuration options because they're all set up now. Meters, I quite liked using this one this morning. That way you can see every channel, what they're doing, inputs and outputs. And so I'd recommend meters there. You can see it's on channel, but I actually preferred it on the ins and outs because I could see everything there. Don't worry about routings. That's a bit technical that we haven't, we don't really want you to be touching that. Setup, you won't need to use that. Library, you won't need to use that. Effects, you won't need to use that necessarily. Mute groups, you won't need to do anything there. And utility, you don't need to worry about anything there either. All right, so main thing, home, and if you want to use meters, I'd select that one there. And I would choose the in-out option there. You can just go channel, which is there, but you don't get all of them there. I didn't get the auxiliaries there as well. And that's pretty much it, guys. I'll just quickly duck down the front and show you what we've done at the box at the front, because we've made things a little bit different there, just so you understand what we've done. All right, so down here on the stage box, I haven't finished yet, I've started labeling. Here you'll see as we go in, what we've done is we've labeled Vox 1, 2, 3, 4 on the first row. And if we've got two cables that we're going to leave permanently plugged in, like we have there, Vox 1 and 2, we've labeled the cable, and I'll label the other end of that cable as well, so you know what it's plugged into. And so that makes it much easier if you're trying to work out where's your mix. All right, so you'll see that in the second row, we've got acoustic 1 and an acoustic 1 cable. Nothing currently in acoustic 2 or in electric guitar, but we do have the bass in there, as you can see. And then the bottom row below that, keys left and right, and we've got the kick already in there as well. Channel 12 is currently free, so we don't need to worry much about that. Down underneath here, you'll see the mains are in there. Next to that, we're going to put in an auxiliary feed from the front. So if you've got a laptop or a phone or something you want to plug in from down the front, we're going to put a feed in there as well. And over on the other box, you can see here, which I haven't labeled yet, it's all of the monitor feeds at the bottom there. So it's monitor 1, 2, 3, 4. As I said, I haven't labeled them yet. I'll get to that shortly. But that'll make it pretty easy for when you're trying to work out which microphone you're in, because they'll all have on the microphone cable here, like there, it will say Vox 1 or 2, and this will say Vox 1 or 2. Over here will be keys left and right, and the monitors as well, they'll be numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, kick and so on, they'll all be allocated. So that way it makes it pretty easy to know, which cable goes with which instrument or microphone. I think that's it, guys. That's all I can think of. Hope you enjoy the new desk. We're kind of having a bit of fun learning how to use it. As we make some more changes, we might do another little update as well. And there should be a little quick start guide we'll have left here for you, just in case you can't remember things from the video. All right, enjoy, guys. Bye.